Let's have a conversation.
Good morning, y'all. For those of you that it's morning for, it's morning for me. It's Monday. Actually, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, but it feels like Monday because of the long weekend. And as is traditional for long weekends for me, I feel more tired than I did when I left for the weekend. Because the more weekend days that I get, is the more activity that I do, and the more activity that I do, the less refreshed I feel. I feel good during the time that I'm off, but when I come back, I feel extra tired. Good morning, MC. I know that a lot of people will look at the title of this and be like, whoa, where is this coming from? Well, I'll tell you, you guys who follow me should know I really just constantly tell everybody that I'm focused on the game. I don't care what's happening outside of the game. I don't care about, race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, none of that stuff. I just care about the gameplay, right? But the reason why I decided to make this video, hi, Edward, I do a lot more observing than I do talking generally. And I've only been connected to like the Big Brother community itself for about 3 years, for about 3 seasons, that amounts to. The other seasons that I watched, I did not see when they were actually on. I saw them on the replay. So I didn't see the forums, I didn't see the Facebook groups, I did not see the Reddit pages, the Twitter stuff. I saw none of that for the other seasons. I started seeing all of this stuff from season 23 of Big Brother. So I remember watching season 23 and I saw Xavier on there and I was really excited to see him on. And I was like, I don't know how, but I hope that this guy finds a way to win. And it was because he was a black man who looks like me, and it had never been done before in that environment. And I didn't quite understand why at that time, but I just was like, I know it's never been done. And good morning, Miss Indes. I'm like, I identify with the guy, so I hope that he wins. And he was a great winner to me. And he's one of the most discredited Big Brother winners of all time. And I know that I even mentioned, well, I didn't say that specific thing, but I mentioned people's thoughts about the cookout itself, and the things they were saying about the cookout, which a lot of them I was like, wow. And then when it came to him, he was so good on the show. And I'm not talking about gameplay. I mean that nobody in America is under more scrutiny in a public eye than an African American male. So when I say he was so good, I mean he was extremely even tempered. Even when he was angry, it wasn't like he was screaming on anybody or cursing anyone out. As far as I remember, I don't really think that he had too many moments that they captured where he was saying things that were inappropriate or unacceptable. Culturally, he wasn't saying things that were offensive to people or abrasive. And the one moment that he could have potentially had a moment during that argument with Kylan when he got evicted, he kept his cool. He pretty much kept his cool for the most part. So he was a winner, and a lot of people are like, the win was so easy for him. His alliance protected him. Um, he's not a good game player, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, is it because? Well, to me, there's clear reasons why people are doing that. There's clear reasons why people are doing that. So then we get into this season. Well, there's last season, which I might or might not touch on, but then there's this season. And the thing about Jared, I don't want people to take this as a defense of anything that people have talked about being upset with Jared for. The R word, for misogynistic comments to Blue and in general. Um, right is right and wrong is wrong. But what I will say is, for any black man that goes on Big Brother, the odds are automatically stacked against them because there is no leeway for a black man to make a mistake. There is no breathing room. And a mistake. So Luke saying the N-word, right? That's a problem. They did the right thing. They took him off the show. There's not even room to be socially or culturally ignorant. And the reason why I'm thinking about this so much and why it bothers me so much is because I think about myself and the way that I have to be in a work environment. And I've always wanted to talk about that. And I have not spoken about it because I've always been fearful of my work environment discovering what I'm saying on the internet and feeling a way about it and giving me repercussions for that. But I'm at a point in time where I don't care who hears what. I do my job. I do my job well. And that's that. I can say what I want on my YouTube page. For the most part, as long as it doesn't violate their terms and conditions, which nothing that I do ever does that except when they come for me for these copyright things. But anyways, in a work environment, I can remember an instance, and I can happily say this one because I am no longer with this company, even though I'm not going to list the company, but I am happily going to list everything about the company. So I was with the company, and they used to clearly treat me differently than my white counterparts. 1,000%. 1,000%. They used to talk to me differently. They used to, tell me constantly that I'm not good at my job. I'm not reaching my quota. I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And I knew that in a lot of cases, I spoke to my coworkers, so I knew what I was doing and I knew what they were doing. And in a lot of cases, it was more than what they were doing, but I was getting spoken to like a dog. And anytime I would give any kind of pushback, I'm aggressive. I need to work on my temper. I don't even have a temper really. Like I'm very even keel, very even keel. But anything that I said was like, oh, goes that angry black man. As much as people are like, oh, you're so proper. Like, you pronounce all your words and you speak well. That doesn't matter when they see my last name and my skin color. I'm behind the eight ball automatically. So what I have seen in the Big Brother community is that anytime a black man gets on the show, the smallest of faux pas, and they want to cancel not just them, but cancel their life, their family's life, their children and their future children. I never want to hear this guy speak again. I never want to see him again in life. I hope that they are like obliterated off the face of the earth. I hope nobody ever follows and supports them again in life. So like a Kyle comes off of the show after his ignorant comments, picks up a massive following, or I guess he already had a following from what I've heard, but I've heard that his following is even much bigger now than it used to be. People are talking about Jared. They were talking about canceling Jared before any comments with Blue. They were talking about canceling Jared before he even said the R word. The thing with him saying that word, in the school that I grew up in, believe it or not, I am 10 to 11 years older than Jared. And in the school that I grew up in Canada, in a small school in a rural part of Ontario, Canada, people said that to each other in school. I said it in school. Was it right when I said it? Absolutely not. Is Jared a 25-year-old man compared to me saying that as a, I don't know, 8, 9, 10-year-old? Absolutely he is. And, I was a child. Yes, that makes a difference. But if Corey let out a faux pas, they would say, I get it because he's young. Corey is 21. Jared is 25. They're both young to me. We've heard Jared speaking nonstop. The man does not stop speaking. The guy actually just has a running dialogues all day unless he's asleep. So we've heard him talk endlessly for a whole month. And he said that once when he was angry. She is being blank. I think that situation is enough of an area of forgiveness where you could actually talk to the guy and be like, this is unacceptable because of this, this, and this. And any further use of the word will lead to your removal from the show. Whereas there's no gray area for the N-word at all. And people are trying to make that comparison. And I just feel like Black people have to be better. We have to speak better. We have to act better. People talk about this guy's relationship back home like he's the first person in Big Brother history that has ever had a relationship back home and gotten in a showmance. This has happened many times across many shows. And I said this before. I know everybody wants to talk about his girlfriend and the situation with his girlfriend, but we don't know it. We could uncover that she is crying herself to sleep every night because she's so disgusted with this behavior. Or he could come out of the house and we could find out that they made an agreement before he left for the show. Who knows? but they want to assassinate the man. And I don't even really like using Jared as the example because he's not the best example. He's not the best example, but I'm just using him as an example because it's the most recent season and I have seen some heinous, heinous things said about Jared that go well beyond the show. Things that it's like, whoa, why would you be thinking this for somebody you've never met before in your life? You've never seen him before. You've never spoken to him before. Just based on what we see on those Big Brother cameras. And I'm also not saying everything that happens on the Big Brother camera should be ignored and chalked up to the game. I'm not saying that either. People do make mistakes in the game on the camera. People of all colors, races, genders, all of that make mistakes. For sure, it happens. But I'm saying that a black man is under such a microscope and I don't like it. It actually triggers me. It actually offends me. I've ignored it for 3 seasons, but it's so pronounced to me now that I am checked into these outside of the show forums where I see a lot of the commentary. And there's extra layers to the comments that are being made about him. I swear if Corey used the R word, nobody would care. Heck, if Luke used the R word instead of the N word, nobody would care. I agree, Cameron. I actually do. You have to go 110 times harder than white people. Oh, hold on a minute. Of course, I would say something like this. I haven't grown up with people with disability. I'm leaving this comment up here. I'm going to read all the other comments, but I'm leaving this specific comment up here. Number one, I have a disability. Number two, the last 5 years from 2015 to 2020, right? I worked exclusively with people with disabilities. I've mentioned this on my channel before. I've worked with people who are blind. I've worked with people who are deaf. I've worked with people who have learning disabilities. I've worked with people who have cognitive disabilities. So you don't even know what you're talking about. I hope I have a mod on here because take this person out of here. I think they gave him a warning, but he seemed to be censoring himself a little bit. Probably. Yeah, that's one thing you're not going to come on my channel and say. Get out of here. Good morning, Chocolate. I heard him say, I better not say that. And he paused before he spoke. Yeah, because you know what? I bet you before he came on the show, Sari spoke to him and was like, Big Brother is a live show. They have cameras on you all day and night. So you have to be very, very careful about what you say. And even it was interesting when we had the incident with Luke, right? And when we had that incident with Luke and everybody was mad at Jared for the way that he responded or his lack of response or his lack of anger in his response to Luke. Man, if he had gotten angry, we'd be talking about nothing but that, and it would be in the most negative of light. That's the reality of that. Good morning. It offends me as well, Mark. Yeah, and I'm a person who, even if it's a guy who looks like me, if they do something wrong, it's wrong. It's just hard to see how there's not a lot of equity when it comes to how a black man or even a black person, I mean, I know that I made this about black men, but look at a Dave Vaughn. I mean, she was villainized so hardcore on the show. She was super villainized. And she loved the show. She was a Big Brother super fan, you know. Some of her responses to things that were going on around her, her personality, her upbringing, the things that she has had to persevere in life, nobody wants to acknowledge those things, that people come from different spaces in life. People come from advantaged spaces in life, and some people come from disadvantaged spaces, socially, financially. um their environment that they grew up in impacts the way that they act, and then they get into this environment in Big Brother, and some things that people do are trigger points for reasons that you don't understand. Even just like how some things for a Big Brother fan can be a big trigger point for them, based on like watching the show and seeing something play out on the show that reminds them of something that's happened to them in their life. He did, because I just saw the headline. Jared says the R word. He was talking to Corey, and then Corey said something about America, and then Jared said she is acting blank. Not saying it's right, but I'm saying that full context does change it a little bit. It did seem weird to me, Trisha. It did seem weird to me. I was like, this was just random, out of nowhere. Didn't make sense to me. I wish that they would air these as events as teachable moments as well, MC. I definitely do. I definitely do. Even the one with Jared, I wish they would air that as a teachable moment where he goes into the diary room or something, and then they're like, Jared, we have to talk to you about your usage of this word. This is the reason why this word should not be used. Do you agree to these terms? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Something. I mean, I don't have an exact idea, but I agree that it's a teachable moment. I agree with everything you're saying about black men on Big Brother. And I'm preparing myself for my comment section for this post because I know that it's going to happen. It's inevitable. That person who was just on here a second ago, there's going to be people like that in my comments, because when I posted the Luke video, the comments on that were just crazy. He should still be in there because it's not a hard ER. I'm like, what? Where do y'all come from? I wish CBS can teach future house guests about treating each person respectfully. I agree. I definitely agree. This season is kind of a nasty season when you think about it. Jared is the most hated person on this season, and he was hated from the beginning. That's the part that I don't like. Yes, I can say that he's done things on the way that have not been favorable, but I can say that any little thing that he did from the jump, people were already not liking him. Yeah, and Cameron, actually, your comments on a couple of my lives made me take a real look at those other platforms and how they have been on this Jared hate train for so long. Like they were saying, I hate Jared. They were literally saying, I hate Jared before this R word thing, which is recent. It just happened a few days ago. They were saying, I hate Jared. Whoa, that's deep, man. That's deep seated, is what I'm trying to say. The ages of the people who raised them also vastly impact how we receive, process, and use our words. My biggest problem with black men on BB is that blackness is always irrelevant to them in every way. What does that mean? Otherwise, they typically don't desire you. Maybe you meant to word that differently. Blackness is always irrelevant to them until it affects them personally. Please reword that so I can understand what you're saying better. If you watch Swaggy C, they hated him and he was just being himself. I gotta be honest, I didn't like Swaggy C and I still don't. But the point is still the point. And I know why you used him to prove the point. That's true. That's true that the hate that he received was extra than what it should have been. I'm not even saying that right. Like I'm saying that he should be hated. I'm just saying not everybody is everyone's cup of tea, but there was some extra spice in that latte. I think that after a while all the house guests get so relaxed and they forget that they are filmed 24/7. No excuse. That's just how I see it. Yeah, that's the thing. For a show like Big Brother, you know what? Big Brother is the only show where you have the opportunity to see them in those relaxed moments unfiltered. The only show, the only one of these competition shows. I bet you if we saw that B-roll footage on Survivor, on Amazing Race, on The Challenge, whatever reality competition show you watch, I bet you if we saw it unfiltered, everybody's favorites would have said cancel worthy things at some point in time. Whether they were angry and talking to themselves in a mirror, whether they muttered something under their breath, whether they had a certain discussion with a house guest that they don't like, it's the way that it is. Tammy, people who were raised in the 70s, unfortunately, the R word was something all the kids said to each other growing up. And believe it or not, in the 90s as well, because I was mostly raised in the 90s and it was still prevalent. I actually looked this up yesterday after watching this video that I had posted on my community post, where the term the R word, like calling it the R word and deeming it as a slur, is also very recent. It was always a negative term. I mean, it was always a negative term to use in the context of calling somebody stupid or slow, but they recently termed it as a slur. Not to say that it wasn't a slur earlier, but yeah, that's just some information that I had looked up based on some things that I was reading and looking at. But yeah, it's hard. Yes, I identify with the struggle of being a black man on the show because I identify with the struggle of a black man, period. Period. Because like I said, I have not been treated equally in my own work environments. I consider Big Brother like a work environment. They're doing a job. They're producing a show. I can give an example. I don't like the X1 because I feel like he was the least invested in the cookout. If not for convenience, he'd never be aligned with the members of the cookout. But do you think that it's convenient? Do you think that the cookout was convenient for them? Because it's almost like you're saying it was convenient for them to be black and have 6 of them on the show. Because they only started with this diversity thing from that season. Before that, they didn't even have the numbers in one season together to do a cookout, and nobody had a problem with that. So was it convenient for the people of color to get out the African American players before that? And should we discredit their wins for that reason? My grandparents were World War One and Depression reared. Their speech and thought processes, the words they use are much different. I was raised in the 60s and 70s. Word usage changes generationally. That's true. Word usage definitely does change generationally. And it's funny because actually I was speaking with Lisa about this the other day in my comments. In this generation, the black culture is considered cool. The black styles, the clothing styles, the hair, the body type, things that were not considered cool when I was growing up are now considered cool by this generation, including the N-word. The N-word is just like a cool thing to say for a lot of these kids. So I know that's the argument that a lot of people have made in favor of Luke, where they're like, Luke was saying this. Oh, you spoke, as soon as I spoke about you, you arrived, Lisa. Luke was saying this. Obviously, he wasn't angry when he said it. It's something that he says. It's part of his dialogue. Trying to get to these comments. Look how these BB outlets do Cameron on the show. They make him seem like he's a creep and might be, but they never point out the America situation with Corey. I've never heard one person say anything other than that's cute. It's adorable. It's sweet. I've never heard, except for you, Cameron, and the couple of people who have agreed with me on my channel, I've heard no outlet talk about that. No, I don't think he's in danger of being taken out of the house. The reason why I made this particular post is because I'm used to doing my morning and evening posts. And I woke up this morning, nothing really happened last night. And so I looked around on all the different forums that I'm connected to. And the only stuff that I saw was Jared trashing. And I'm like, what did Jared do yesterday? So I looked on the feeds and I'm like, there's nothing that Jared did yesterday at all. So why are the majority of these feeds bashing Jared and saying they hope that he self-evicts and they never want to see him on TV again, and they wish ill will on his family? I was just like, whoa, this is heavy. This is too heavy for what we've seen on the show. And for me, I've been feeling triggered since the comments started with Xavier. I was watching that season and it was I enjoyed the season, the cookout season. I really did. But the Big Brother community was just hard to tolerate for my tastes. And I know that probably my demographics are very outnumbered when it comes to Big Brother fans. So that's the reason why those racist opinions are in the majority. and I can't have a lot of those conversations. But on my page, yes, I can, because it's my page. And if you have those opinions, again, you can feel free to unsubscribe. And if you want to be loud and proud about those opinions, you're getting blocked. Evolution is absolutely a process. Good morning, Lisa. And it's a, you know what? It's a process, but it's a process that requires uncomfortable conversations, and it's a process that requires sitting with somebody and educating them instead of just canceling them and being like, I never want to hear or see them again. Because then nobody's ever going to learn anything. They're just going to be like, you know what? You know what I remember? Being canceled by this group for this. So I'm just going to live my life and not interact with any of those people. Good morning, Bill. Oh, that's interesting about this generation saying it's cool. I didn't realize that. The N-word is never okay, and it still isn't. Did anybody hear me say you aren't allowed to disagree with me? Because I don't know if I said something confusing, but I have still never said that. In 2 years of running my page, I've never told anybody you are not allowed to disagree with me. The person who I asked my moderators to mute told me that, of course, I would say that because I have never interacted with anyone with disabilities. That's BS, first of all. And that's a personal comment that I don't like and I don't tolerate. You can disagree with me all day, but you're not going to disrespect me. There are some people who hate the cookout and praise the brigade. Exactly. There's definitely people who hate the cookout and praise the brigade. It's the same strategy. It actually is the same strategy. I heard so much stuff about, oh, it was actually racism for them to take out the non-people of color. I'm like, racism? Do you know what racism stemmed from? That's a whole other debate. Thank you, Miss Indez. I never tell anybody you're not allowed to disagree with me. There's nobody I've ever said that you're not allowed to disagree with me. Anyone can say anything. And even all these people that are here and support me, they don't always agree with me. Sometimes I say things and they're like, no, I think you're off. I think that's wrong because of whatever. Sometimes I'm like, I see your point. Sometimes I'm like, agree to disagree. And sometimes I'm like, I don't agree. On to the next topic. I am not somebody who believes in groupthink. I'm not somebody who believes in conformity. Everyone knows that. Everyone who's been following me for long enough knows that. These young people are accustomed to singing the N-word in music. Yeah. They have friends who accept them saying the word. In college, the worst argument I had was the use of the N-word isn't tolerated. When were you in college? In the 90s? Was it? Early 2000s? Different point of views are welcome as long as they are respectful. Thank you, MC. In a nutshell, that's what I'm trying to say. Different point of views are welcomed as long as they are respectful. Once you cross that line of disrespecting me, you're not welcome on my channel. I don't disrespect y'all. I don't insult you. I don't drag people, like I don't call you names. I might disagree with something you say, and I might tell you that I disagree with something you're saying, but I do not disrespect anybody. So anything that I ask for on my page, in my life in general, is something that I provide to you. If anyone thinks that I have ever disrespected them, please let me know, and I will apologize for that, because that is never my aim. Appreciate that, Miss Indus. Oh, in the 80s. Yeah, it's interesting to see how things change over time. I was just clarifying, I like watching your discussions on the show. I just didn't want to misspeak and end up blocked. I don't just block people for no reason. I really don't. I promise you, I do not just block anyone for no reason. I think I've asked, MC can tell you, I've probably asked her to block like 2 to 3 people this whole time that she's been one of my mods. WMU 1976. Why weren't the committee including Memphis, Mitch, Jackson, and Cliff not reprimanded about their seasons or kicked off because they're ready to hang Jared on the nearest tree? Oh, man. That is a good question. I'm 23, and people think it's weird if I don't let a white person use the N word in front of me, and the white people who use the word don't even know the history of the word. And that's the whole debate of young people who use the word that I have seen that makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. I'm not saying that it excuses it, but I am saying that I can acknowledge that there are people who use the N word that are not intending to be racist. I know that. Excuse the pun, but it's not just black and white. It's not such a black and white thing. Whereas the usage of the word in its origin was clear cut. There's only one use of this word. There's only one way to use this word, and there's only one meaning to this word. So if you say it, you're racist. Well, actually, they didn't even have something called racist at that time. So you weren't racist. You were American. It wasn't even racist to say that. That was, I mean, it was racist now that we have defined it as racist, but it was socially and culturally accepted for white people to say this word regarding black people. Black people try to take that word. Words are interesting, really, because we tried to take that word and change it. And use it with each other. Like, we're going to take this thing that you used to categorize us and sell us and segregate us and beat us and kill us and all this stuff, and make it something else. And then other cultures were like, some people from other cultures were like, you know what? We like this word, and we like what stands behind this word and the meanings that you've given to this word. It's cool. It's cool. So now we're going to say it too. Let's see. Class of 86. Yeah, I really don't block people. I really don't ask my mods to block people very often. But this specific comment that this person made today was very, very offensive to me, because I just got off of disability in 20 2020, as a matter of fact, 2019, 2020. I was only working part time because there was a point in time in my life where my anxiety disorder, my panic disorder, my agoraphobia were so severe that I wasn't even leaving my house. I wasn't eating. I was like 120 pounds. Those who have been following my page for any amount of time have seen me talk about this. The post is still up on my other page. I've talked about this multiple times. I have a strong affinity for people with physical and mental disabilities. So to tell me that I have never been around people with physical and mental disability or with any disabilities, that's a zero warning block. And that's the only time I've actually even asked somebody to block somebody off of just giving one comment like that. Normally I wait and see. Okay, I'm like, okay, sometimes people say something stupid, but maybe it was just like a one-off comment. But depending on the topic and the subject matter and what you say specifically, yeah, that can happen. So if you misspeak and say something like that, yeah, I don't care. There's no second warning for that. That's not misspeaking. My son had black friends that called each other the N word in front of him. It confused him to think it's okay to say. And I get that, Trisha, I do. And there's also the factor that I live in New York. So in Canada, when I grew up in Canada, I was called the N word in school by a white guy, and he meant it in a racial way. I know now as an adult that, obviously he must have got that at home, that was okay. But yeah, I was called the N word in school. That was the first time I had ever heard it. A schoolmate said it to me in school, and it only meant one thing over there, and white people pretty much did not say that. Maybe they said it, but I never really heard any white person say it in school. It was not something I heard white people say in school like it was something cool to say. Over here, though, I hear Spanish people say it. I hear Asians people say it. I don't really think that I've heard a white person say it here, but my point is, I've heard a lot of different cultures say it here, and I wasn't used to that when I first moved to New York. I'm like, whoa, everybody says this. But as y'all are saying, it is kind of a generational thing too. That's the part that I don't like. Here's my thing. There's a whole bigger debate about whether it should be used or not. Some people say it's never okay. Some people say it's okay in this context and without the hard ER at the end. Some people say if black people say it to other black people, it's okay. I get that. But if you say it to or in front of a black person and they tell you that it's not okay for them, there should not be a debate after that. If they tell you they're uncomfortable with you saying that around them, then you just shouldn't say it. No debate. That's my opinion. This is just a topic about black men and how they are regarded in the Big Brother community. Black men who get on the show. I think folks are so up in arms about the R word because of what happened to Luke. I personally don't think most of these outraged people are truly offended by the word. It's just retaliatory. I agree. I definitely agree with that. I think boundaries are important. N-word was racist after the Civil War. I am third generation removed from slavery in my family. It is a word that saturation has run its time. I set boundaries for the word. I appreciate that context, Tammy. I definitely appreciate that context. If you were but Van Hoop, but if you were asking what I was talking about just now, I was just saying, um, somebody came in here and thought they could get disrespectful with me, and I was like, no, no tolerance for that. They for sure want an eye for an eye. Yeah, that's true. Like, I feel like if he had said the same thing, and Luke was still on the show, or let's say the Luke incident hadn't happened, there wouldn't be some big push and everybody tagging CBS on Twitter and all that for Jared's use of that word. And I know that you can't really, I know people are going to say that you can't really predict this or say this, but I definitely agree with Cameron that if Corey was talking to somebody and he was like, oh, that's blank, and used the same word, it would be like, oh, he's young, it's cute. I forgive him. Jared needs to go, period. You can have that opinion. I don't agree with it, but like I said, everybody does have a right to their opinion. But this is actually not really about Jared, to be honest with you. I knew that it would probably shift and pivot to Jared because of the fact that Jared is the only black man on this season, so he's the most recent person to talk about, which kind of takes away a little bit from the discussion. But it's okay. I'm still willing to be Jared's defense attorney. But it's not about Jared. I promise y'all, this is not about Jared. The R word was still used in my textbooks when I was in college in the 80s. I don't think that it was clinically removed until the mid to late 90s. That's interesting. Oh Lord, Jared said it. Look, double standards exist, and sometimes we gotta accept that. I think vernacular plays a huge part too. The R word was his hardly a slur in African American vernacular English. Our equivalent would probably be slow, not the R word. Interesting. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know that when I was in school in Canada, we used that to insult each other. We definitely did. I remember it clearly. I remember that clearly being the insults. And I didn't know where the word came from. And at that time, I actually had not been around anyone with any kind of um, mental disability that I knew of at that time as a kid. So I didn't even really have a point of reference for context for that. I just knew that I heard kids saying it, and I said it too. He's a privileged kid who is not mature enough to be on TV. Jared used the R word, Van Hoot. By the way, I would like to say, for the most part, aside from a small outlier, a very small, insignificant outlier. I appreciate all of you who are on this chat and are commenting on this, because I know that it's a mixture of people and a mixture of cultures. And I know that it can be a difficult topic. And I know some people will agree with what I'm saying and some people won't agree with what I'm saying. But what I appreciate about my particular group on this channel is the fact that people agree and disagree respectfully. People explain out their points instead of just putting one line troll comments like I see in other places. I am all for conversations and debates. And y'all have been doing that for this whole hour, because when I woke up this morning and decided to make this a topic, I had no idea how it was going to be received, because I saw the potential for this whole chat to be left. But it hasn't been. So this group is something special. We said short bus or the R word. Yes, please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. Yes, he did. He said, America is being blank. He does come across as a spoiled kid. I think you're trying to outline a bigger range of black men, mature men with confidence. Yeah, Harmony, like I said, to be honest with you, using Jared as the example for this is hard. Using Jared as the example for what I'm trying to say is hard. So I am actually in agreement with you there. I am. Because I can't tell somebody their trigger point. I know a lot of you did not see the video that I reposted a couple of days ago. Tammy saw it. But the guy said, nobody is going to feel as offended as me, as a black man, to hear this white guy say the N-word on TV. So it's just like, in the same sense, I don't have that particular learning disability, or whatever they call it now. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Whatever they call it now, whatever the acceptable thing to call it now, I don't have that particular thing. So I am not going to be as offended or triggered as somebody who does, or somebody who has family, children who do, or sibling, or somebody close to you who experiences that. That's not to say I'm not offended at all. It shouldn't be said, period. I am offended by it, but I'm not going to feel the same trigger point. So the people who are in that bracket have a right to feel how they feel. The other people have a right to feel how they feel as well. But as someone said in the comments, I think it was you, America, then, it is retaliatory for a lot of the people who are so offended. Like, a lot of these people would hear somebody say that at their job and wouldn't report it to HR, or they would hear somebody say that in conversation and they'd keep going with the conversation instead of being like, that is so terribly wrong. Where are we here? There's a lot of comments in here. All right. For example, if someone is doing something really funny, yeah, I know people have said that. Difficult situation would be in New York, that's actually like a New York slang. I hate to say that, but it is. As you're saying that, it actually is. Like, if somebody does something really funny or goofy, just like you're saying, somebody might be like, yo, you're blank. Again, I don't say that, but I have definitely heard it said many times in that context. Luke using the N word and Jared using the R word so nonchalantly shows that they are part of their vocabulary. But you know what? Jared didn't use it nonchalantly because what's his name? Luke used it casually. You know, he was just having a casual conversation. Jared was upset. He was like turned up and used it in that sense. And I'm not saying that that makes it right, but I am saying there was not a lot of equity in the way that the word was used. Hey, Kamisha, what's up? Good morning. I'm talking about this topic too, King. Have you talked about it already? If so, I'll check out your video. The SM, what is the SM universe? Is trying to get Jared removed for using it. Oh, social media. David 2.0. That's a good point. Blue is correct because she talked to him about how he projects himself. Jared, oh yeah, I agree. He has some growing up to do, but yeah. Jared is going to come out of this house to a lot of hate. And it's kind of sad. And I know that you kind of make your bed and you lay in it. But I don't think that anybody is beyond being given a chance to correct their behavior. Like they have a term that says people have no redeeming qualities about them. I wouldn't say that Jared has no redeeming qualities to him. People on the spectrum. The bandwidth. That combo with Blue is the same combo the network should have as a teaching moment. Yeah, I agree. I agree that she did a good job. You know what? As much as I joke about Blue or say like, hey, Blue's not here for the game and she's always looking at the cameras and stuff, I feel like she has done quite a good job. She waits for him to kind of cool down and for them to be in a place where they're alone and he's calm, and she finds ways to express to him how he comes across. And typically he's like, that's fair. I agree. I see that. And I think that being on Big Brother overall is a teaching moment. There was this specific thing that Turner said to me on when I interviewed him, Turner from last season, where he was like, I forget exactly how he said it. I wish I could quote it word for word. But he said, you can be a bad person on Big Brother who is a good person in real life, or you can be a good person on Big Brother who is like a bad person in real life. What was the other thing? He was like, life is not just about what you do on Big Brother, it's about what you do after. And I feel like Jared is not really going to be allowed to have an after. That's my issue. My issue is not even with the complaints that people have for him on the show. It's about allowing him to have that after. And if in the after we see that he doubles and triples down on what he's done and said in the house, okay, don't support him. But give him a chance to actually change, pivot. People do grow. People can grow. I've heard people use it in basketball talk and they have the accent, what are you blank? Yes, they have. Thank you for this topic. I am just at the 12-minute mark, but hearing your experience is very valuable for me and others to hear. Thank you. You know, Cynthia, I was not around the BBC, the Big Brother community at that time, but I've heard about it. I'm glad we're having these conversations because we have noticed that in CBS reality show world, black men are always the first targets, like in Survivor. Truth. And nobody has had a problem with that. I also think she likes him. She does. I think there's a difference between the two events because one took accountability and apologized, and the other doubled down on their word choice. Actually, nobody has mentioned that, MC. You're the first person that actually mentioned that Jared said that he was wrong for saying that. Luke is still out in the world right now defending his right to use the word. Jared actually apologized in the house, and people are discarding that. If you care about somebody, you will talk to them about that stuff. Swaggy didn't deserve all the hate he got. He was just being himself. Agreed. Davon didn't deserve all the hate she got either. I'm throwing that out there. Davon did not deserve all the hate that she got. I'm throwing it out there again twice. Because if all the other channels are not going to say it, I'm going to say it. If he had no redeeming qualities, he wouldn't have a problem getting people out of the house. It is really a heavy responsibility for him. Yep. Blue is from where I'm from, Riverside, California. And fun fact about our city is we are a blended city. Where is Riverside geographically in California? We are not separated by social, economical, or racial ethnicity lines, so the neighborhoods are mixed. Is Riverside in Southern California? I think he is just young, and I normally don't use that as an excuse, but it is very clear he wants to be better. I'm not sure, but I just feel like with the way that America responds to things, I think that Corey didn't tell her. I have a feeling that Corey did not tell her that. But I'll tell you guys something. I have a strong feeling that this cast is going to be very fractured when they leave. I've already seen a little bit of evidence of that from the people who have left and the things they said after they left. Truce. Luke went on the I'm allowed to use this word tour. Absolutely. I love Swaggy and Devon. And then there was Mama Felicia calling Blue a garden tool. People were not liking that either. Riverside is in the Inland Empire. I'm just gonna look it up. I'm just gonna say I'm not too good with I'm not too familiar with California. Oh, I thought it was Southern California actually. I've only been to Southern California once. I went to LA 2021. I kind of saw quite a cultural mix when I was over there. Um, there was a lot of homeless people in LA, more than I have ever seen here in New York, and I thought we had a lot. Riverside, it is outside San Diego. Okay. We are 45 minutes from LA. Okay, that helps me. That's what I mean. Jared went and apologized. He didn't get defensive. We are 2 hours from San Diego. Yeah, the only places in California that I've ever been, Los Angeles, and I drove into Long Beach and Hollywood. Hollywood wasn't what I expected. It looks a lot more glamorous on TV. Even the Walk of Fame. I didn't know the Walk of Fame was just like a dirty sidewalk that they only clean up when somebody is getting a new star. Blue called herself that jokingly. Oh, did she? Yeah, I mean, they are Gen Z. Blue, Jared, Corey. I think America is also considered Gen Z. Gen Z is what, 90, late 90s, 98, something like that. And anyone who's in there that's in their 20s is all in the Gen Z category. Jared has a lot of insecurities. That's 100% true. Some growth, read his sexist views for sure. But we don't need to. Yes, Evelyn. I appreciate this comment so much because this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't have sexist views. I'm not trying to say that his usage of the word was right. I'm not trying to say that him being like, "Oh, what's your body count?" I don't even need to run through the list. We already know all the stuff that he said to Blue. I'm not trying to say that any of that is right, but I am trying to say we don't need to hate him for it. And some of that hate from some people in the community is race related. I'm willing to say that. It is from what I saw for sure. I'm gonna have to hop off this thing pretty soon, but like I said, I've really appreciated this discussion. I didn't even know that it was going to be something I enjoyed this much. It started off with the potential to be derailed. But thank you to my mods for assisting me with that, and thank you to the members who know me and they know what I'm about. They know the things I stand for and won't allow people to jump in and try to just assassinate my character because I get offended by that. Yes, you're a Gen Z also. I'm a millennial. They make me feel old. I'm 35 and they make me feel old. Jared reminds me of a frat boy. He acts like one for sure. But yes, I do have to go. And once again, I want to thank all you for this discussion. It was a tough one. It's a tough topic. Everybody has different viewpoints. I know it's something that can be triggering. I'm sorry if it has triggered anybody. But I appreciate all of you for holding it down, for giving your viewpoints. And we're going to be back to regular schedule talking about whatever happens on the show later. But I'm so glad to get this topic out here because it's been bothering me for a while, for a few years. And I've never really made a specific video about it. I've kind of addressed it in little pieces, but I've never made a video just talking about this only. So I'm glad to get that off my chest. That's funny. Millennials, thumbs up, like this video. All right, y'all, if you can do me a favor, like the video, comment on the video after it posts, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have a community page,
share this. I would like for people to see it. And do me one other favor. Have a fantastic day. And don't let anybody get you down with their words. Words are powerful, but sometimes they are only as powerful as we allow them to be. Take care, everybody.
So you literally were one of my very first followers. And then when you followed me and I, followed back, I was like, this dude is cool. Like,
if they say talk to your manager, you just say, you know what, talk to the hand. You don't need to be on my podcast. But, yeah, dude. Yeah, you do a great job.
Thank you. I always get a kick out of talking with you on Patreon. You have a really good, view on it.
That wasn't planned.
You know what? But I like this Canadian.
Well,
this one.
Well, thank you.